What's up, boys?
Going with an FDF Mega Mantis angle kit on the E46 BMW. I'm going to start tearing into the old setup, the old parts. Basically, I'm on a time crunch because we are trying to move out of this house in like 3 or 4 weeks, and I have to get my car back on wheels. So I'm going to try to get as much footage as I can, kind of talk through the process. Okay, so first I'm going to remove this inside paneling. Eventually I plan on cutting the tubs so that it's easier to work and use at the track. So I don't really need these plastic pieces in here. They're just going to get in the way, so I'll remove those. Then we're going to take off our brake caliper because we will probably still use these brake calipers with the 325 setup that I have in the front. But we're going to remove all the control arms. I got new rotors because we're swapping to the 114.3 bolt pattern. So I've got new coilovers. We're going to basically try to remove all this stuff. All right, so I've got the front end control arm and the knuckle and the rotor, wheel hub, everything. I just took it off as one piece. Just to move the vehicle is basically what I'm trying to do. I have to get the car on wheels so that I can get this over to my new house that I'm hopefully closing on here in a couple weeks. I'm going to keep the stock coilovers in the front because I just don't want to put my new coilovers on yet when I'm not totally ready for them. I am going to replace the tie rod as well because I have the full FDF Mantis kit to put on here. So I will be getting to that as soon as I take off the other side. I didn't get any footage of this because, well, last night I was working late last night. I didn't have my phone set up or anything, and I was trying to get through as much as I could because I really have to get this car on wheels soon. Some of these parts, you know, they've probably been on this car for 20 years now, 21 years, and there is a nut that you have to take off on the top side of the subframe that releases that long ball joint right there. And I swear it took me an hour just to remove both bolts from each side, or nuts from each side, which sounds crazy, but Godspeed to anyone who's, you know, working on this same job that I was, because it's hard. You have to use a wrench, and you go in from the front under the motor to just barely use a wrench to take off that nut, and it takes forever. So that sucked, but we're through it, and we've cleaned up the interior here a little bit. I am going to cut the inside of this eventually so that this is removed and put a tube front brace right there. A lot of drift people do that. It just saves room. It's easier to work on. You don't need that. Okay guys, I'm getting the trailing arms ready. You can see we got the fresh paint on there. Looks really good. Looks like it just come from the factory, honestly. I'm working on pushing in our Garage trailing arm bushings. I went with the Delrin, which is like race spec, because this is going to be a drift car. So these look really sick. They're made out of Delrin. I've already pressed this one in. Looks great. So I lined them up and then used a rubber mallet gently to kind of get them in place. And then I'll show you, I take them over to the vise. I use 2 pieces of wood and I press them into place like this. Looks good. You guys saw in the last video, I was basically just beating and pounding out the wheel bearings out of the trailing arms. I don't want to just beat, with a hammer, my new bearings when I'm installing them. I don't want to do any damage to those bearings. So I went to Advanced Auto. I've never done this before, but I've rented a tool from them. I was thinking it would cost like 200 some bucks. It was a little over 400 bucks for basically a bearing installer and removing tool. I'm going to use that and hopefully get these bearings installed in the new trailing arms, smoothly, and then I'll take I'll take the tool back to Advanced Auto and they'll refund my money. So I'm going to see how that goes. Trying to work with a Belgian. Hey, come on, I gotta get work done. Hey. Yeah, I know, you wanna play. I know. But you gotta let me have it. Leave it. Leave it. Leave it. Alright, so I'm pressing in the bearings with the rental tool that I got. It's a huge kit. It can do a lot of different vehicles, a lot of different manufacturers. I found a setup that works for me, and you basically put one ring on the bearing side, another side on the back of the trailing arm. You use this threaded rod basically and just tighten it with an impact, and it draws in the bearing into the housing. So I don't know if you're supposed to do this, but I like to put a little bit of grease in here. I don't think it hurts. It'll help it slide in, and when in doubt, I think grease helps. So did that. We've pressed in the bearing on this one already. Turned out good. I'll put the snap ring in next, and but first I want to do this one. But I wanted to show you what we're working with here. So, okay guys, I'm going to push in the hub now. I've greased it a little bit. I just think it helps it slide in there and can protect it. So I'm going to use the same tool to press this into the trailing arm. I'm going to make sure it's level and flat first. Going in straight, we'll be good. Just finished installing the new wheel bearings in the trailing arms. As you can see here, it's upside down, and the rear hubs. These are a 5x114.3 bolt pattern conversion hub that I got from NDI Machine out of Connecticut. Highly recommend checking them out. I got these very reasonably priced conversion hubs. They look great. I'm excited to try them out. And I originally ordered a 325 BMW hubs because that's what I was going to do. I was going to work on that and put that back in the car. But now I've kind of fast forwarded to the updated Ford rear end that I'm trying to get together. So I needed the 330 hubs. NDI Machine, Nick over there, he helped me send those back, gave me 330 hubs. I just had to pay shipping, which was awesome because they were brand new hubs. I never even opened them. He was able to refund me, just swap me out basically. And I had bought those original hubs like a year ago. So the customer service is amazing. But then I realized that I still had the wrong bearings like a month or two later. And I reached back out to him and said, hey, I have the wrong bearings still, blah, blah, blah. And I even opened the box on one. I'm not trying to, give anything away here, but he took them back. All I had to do was pay shipping, and he sent me, he's going to credit me for the correct bearings. So shout out to Nick at NDI Machine. I can't wait to hopefully meet you one day and thank you personally. But huge customer service, huge help on this build, and we got it done. Side note, I didn't have much footage of this because I had to call my dad, who's I used to live in Ohio. He's in Ohio still. All my family's there. And I had to phone a friend because when I was installing these hubs, they started to push the inside of the bearing out the back of the trailing arm just a little bit. And that's not good, you know. So I called him because he's a diesel mechanic, taught me everything I know, and I should have listened a lot more growing up. He would have taught me even more. But I was able to call him. Obviously, he's done this type of job before. And this is the tool that I rented, the bearing install and removal kit from Advanced Auto. It worked really well. It was my first time using it, and my dad helped me figure out that I needed to drive the inner wheel bearing into the wheel hub. I was able to catch it before I completely destroyed the bearing and would have had to have replaced that. So, you know, keep that in mind whenever you're tightening in your hub into the wheel bearing. Don't over tighten it. Just do a little at a time. Make sure you're not blowing out the bearing, essentially is what I was doing. So I'm glad I caught that. We got it fixed, and now my hubs are in. They're tight, and I'm excited to move on.